This is Teaching in Tanzania, Season 3, After Tanzania.
Season 1 introduced us to a group of Grand Valley State University students preparing for a study abroad program in Tanzania, a country in East Africa. In Season 2, we heard from some Tanzanians about the impact of the program on their community and caught up with the students as they began their safari. This season, the students have returned from Africa and we asked them to reflect on their adventures. Here's a sample from Lyndsey.
We've been reading about and hearing about how schools in Tanzania are really rote learning and teachers don't necessarily involve a lot of creativity, and so we went into the experience excited to implement the creative classroom activities that we learn about and lesson planning, like in engaging ways for these students, but just having to adapt and understand that you can't just start an activity that involves like group work or something like a game where there's competition and you're in a team without there being a lot of explicit teaching involved, because these students have never been exposed to learning in that way, and all they know is they sit and copy and do their homework. In order for us to want to be able to implement like our fun teamwork and activity type lesson plans, we had to first spend so much time explicitly teaching what it means to work as a team and what are the do's and don'ts and writing rules. And I had this experience with the debate that I led, and I had this experience with trying to play this or that or four corners, having my students stand up and watch different areas of the room, but learning that they can't really keep their hands off each other. No matter how hard you tell them to turn their voices off, they're distracted because they don't get to stand up next to their friends very often and learn in this way. So those were some of the challenges that I faced, and I just would adjust my lesson as needed, and some days we'd cut the game short if I couldn't find a way to get them under control, and we would move on to the next thing or maybe adjust the lesson in some way. I was constantly adjusting on my feet and feeling it out, and everything was trial and error the whole time. So you never really knew how it was going to go. You had an idea of how you wanted it to go, but you had to have plan B or plan C in your head. One of the best things that I brought to Tanzania was my picture books. I had like 5 of them that I brought. Some were nonfiction and some were fiction, just kind of a variety, and they were very carefully chosen by me, keeping in mind the diversity of the area and trying to be aware of cultural differences and bringing books that wouldn't be like completely out of their norm. For example, I didn't want to bring a book that had all these white kids in it or all these like suburban homes in it, because that's not what their reality is like. So I was very careful about which books I brought. But anyway, those became the best thing ever as like a backup plan if I couldn't get the students to listen or stay engaged, or I just ran out of things to do, or maybe their teacher didn't show up and I wanted to take advantage of the extra time with them, but I didn't necessarily have like a planned lesson. Then I would pull out these books and read them, and the kids were just so amazed, and it captured their attention for as long as I wanted. I could read the story, stop at different points, ask questions, get them engaged, read with enthusiasm, and slow down and speed up in different parts. And I even asked at some point for students to come up and read to the class and like practice their reading, and I'd have one student come up and read a page, and this was a book that I figured was in there. I had no reference of their level that they were at, but I figured it was a book that was in their capabilities. And so I asked volunteers to come up and read to the class, and some did, and they really seemed to enjoy it, and they did a really great job.
Thanks, Lyndsey. Season 3 is coming soon.
Please check our show notes for more information.